how did you end up on a show? Like, how do you, like, one day you're like, you know, I'm going to start a show. I'm going to pitch a show.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was making good money selling real estate, and I built a real estate team, and I had staff, and I was like 21, 22 years old. 2006 came around, inventory grew. 2007 came around, subprime market crashed. I had to sell everything I had, so sold my houses, sold my cars, moved into this tiny little apartment with a roommate, and like I remember being rock bottom. Like I lost everything I had worked for in my adult life, and I struggled for a couple years, and I figured out short sales. So then I started making a little bit of money again, and I had this crazy idea to flip houses after I saw opportunity in short sales. So I pitched everybody I knew. And everybody said, no, you're too young. The market's unstable. You don't know. They gave me every...
And you hadn't flipped a house up to that point.
No, I had the idea to flip a house. So then I went to my friends and family, like we were talking about a minute ago, and everybody said I was an idiot. They're like, what are you even talking about? Like, we're in a recession. You want to go buy it? How are you going to do that? I said, I'm going to figure it out. I said, if I find the house, will you help fund it? Everybody said no. So I finally found one guy dumb enough to give me money, who's still my business partner today for Tarek Buys House. His name's Pete DeBest, great guy. So we bought our first flip. It was a condo in Santa Ana. Man, I learned so many lessons on that thing. Paid $115,000 for it, flipped it for $169,000, made a net profit of $34,000. That was it. I was hooked. But here's the interesting part of the story. So that same week or month, it's been a while since when I bought that flip, I was at another Mike Ferry real estate convention in Las Vegas. And my friend was the vice president of Prudential, and he sat in the very front row where the VIPs sit. So he invited me and my ex-wife up to come sit in the very front. We were in the very back. And at the break, all these VIPs came up to us like, who are you guys? We've never seen you up here before, blah, blah, blah. So that was the first time in my life I realized, well, I got to start putting myself around different people.
Yeah, you got to be at the front.
You got to be at the front.
You got to be in the special section.
Yeah. So I met this guy who had a paid program TV show in Palm Springs about showcasing his listings. And I was like, well, what does that do? He's like, well, they recognize me. I'm like, well, what does that do? He's like, well, then they want to work with me. I'm like, okay, great. So I'm like, shit, I got to get on TV. So then I leave Las Vegas. I'm on the couch, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, I'm talking to my ex. I'm like, we got to get on TV. We got to get on TV. She goes, what are you even talking about? Get on TV for what? What are we going to do? And then it hit me. I was like, well, we just bought a flip. I'm like, well, what if we flip houses on TV? She laughed at me, shook her head, walked upstairs. So she went to bed. I was like, I'm going to get us a TV show. So I literally jumped on Google. I wrote Hollywood production companies and just started looking at websites and looked at castings, sent pictures, and I said, I'm a new flipper. I want to flip houses on TV, blah, blah, blah. I woke up the next day. They responded saying, yeah, send us a home video. I was like, oh, crap. Okay. So I documented the process of that very first flip on a home video, sent it to the production company. They loved it. So they're like, okay, well, we want to do a 2-day professional shoot now. So they came out for a 2-day professional shoot, and they did what's called a sizzle. It's like a 3 to 5 minute professional video. And nothing happened. They pitched it to all the networks. Nobody wanted it. And that was it. I was like, all right, didn't work out. 10 months later, I get a call from the production company saying, you're not going to believe this, but HGTV wants to do a pilot with you for a house flipping show. I'm like, heck yeah. At this point, I was on my 3rd flip. So 10 months.
A little bit more experience.
A little bit more. Like
a little bit.
Bit more experience.
Wasn't burning your feet anymore.
So my first flip, I burned my feet with acid. I electrocuted myself. I painted the baseboards, threw a drop cloth to the new flooring. Like I did everything wrong. I know nothing about construction. So anyways, I filmed the pilot for HGTV, and then they're like, the odds of it going to series very slim, and if it does get picked up, it's going to take a long time. And I was like, okay. A week later, I get a call. We have a contract coming. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, let's do this. So I get a contract, and I have to flip 13 houses in 10 months on national TV. I'm like, okay. So I call my friend who is successful. I'm like, you know any lawyers? And he referred me to a lawyer. Called the lawyer. He's like, to review the contract, we need a $2,500 retainer. And I saw the email. I wrote back, well, I don't quite have $2,500. Will you do a payment plan? So he agreed to the payment plan, and he's still my lawyer to this day.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm looking
at least you were smart enough to get a lawyer to review a contract.
Exactly.
You know, some people just are so excited that they're even getting put on. They're just
sign everything.
Yeah. So, but this.
Do you even have any negotiation abilities when you're
New?
Like, you're
In the
new.
beginning,
Like,
no way.
yeah, they're just like, look, you can review it all you want, but sign it or
Exactly.
That-
Sign it or walk away.
yeah, kick rocks.
Pretty much at the beginning, they're not going to give you anything.
And you're not really making money. You're really doing it for the exposure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For the
Exactly.
exposure. But back then, it was just, I didn't even know what it would be, right? But I'm looking at this contract. It says I have to flip 13 houses in 10 months. I'm thinking, well, one,
I've done 3
yeah,
in
like,
10 months.
how am I going to, one, flip 13 houses, and two, where in the world am I going to get the money? So I asked my lawyer, I was like, well, what's the worst that can happen? He's like, well, I guess they can sue you. And I said, I looked around my apartment. I was like, they can have it. So I signed the contract. And honestly, I just worked my ass off that first year. And I literally learned how to flip houses while filming a TV show about flipping houses.